Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to PJ Campbell Network. I am not PJ Campbell. I am Chance Ellison. The inmate is literally running the asylum here at the PJ Campbell Network, and we are here to bring you a brand new show. I told PJ I got to expand the show, expand the audience, and we are here with a brand new football-centric show, Left Side, Strong Side. I will be one of your hosts, but I am not here alone. And Lord knows PJ is not hosting the show with me because he knows dick about football. We're looking for a co-host. I had to think of somebody who's dedicated to sports, dedicated to showmanship, and just has a deep love for football that cannot be tarnished. I found that individual. How do I know that? His favorite team is the New York Jets. My co-host, you know this guy from What the Show, Mr. Mike Deacon. Mike.
What's up, everyone? Chance, how you doing, buddy?
Welcome to the network, man. I am so excited to be bringing the show to people. We're going to have a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I love how you mentioned PJ's lack of knowledge of football. I cannot wait to see how he performs in the What the Show Fantasy Football League this year. You want to talk dart throws? Watch him go undefeated and win the league.
Yeah, but watch him end up winning. But, Mike, we are not here to enter in this new show alone. You want to talk about pain? Mike, I know you know pain. You want to talk about someone else who knows pain?
Yeah.
This guy is a Bears fan. Yeah. One half the mediocre white guys, PLD. PLD. Thank you for coming on, man.
Hey, appreciate it, man. I love you guys, and I love the NFL more than PJ does. That's for sure. I know a little bit more about it than PJ, so you probably went with the right mediocre white dude at this point.
No, I'm very, very confident with my choice. We have a lot of things we're going to talk about today. Let's just get into all of it. First thing we're going to talk about. Look, every team goes into every season with one goal. That is Super Bowl. However, for a certain few teams, there is an even greater prize on the line. That's right, folks. We are talking the Tank Bowl. So, who wins the Tank Bowl this year? Now, Mike, I'm going to go over to you first real quick, because I feel like your boys, the Jets, are just perpetually in this conversation.
Yeah, they definitely are. When it comes to the Jets this year, I 100% expect them to finish last in the division. I'm not going to, sugarcoat, be delusional, anything like that. They have a really tough schedule. If you look at the Jets schedule, if they come out of this season with 5 wins, I'll be shocked. So I do not think they are the outright worst roster in football.
No.
But
we'll get there in a second.
With the combination of their schedule and their quarterback situation right now, I definitely think you're talking a top 5 pick. There's 2 teams I think definitely have a worse roster than the Jets, at least 2.
Well, maybe one of them is our guest team, Chicago Bears.
I will say this. I will say that the reason why the Bears will not win this Tank Bowl is because I actually want them to win the Tank Bowl at this point. I want them to get rid of everything they can, get rid of all the cap space they can. My goal is just to keep Fields alive for a year. That's all I really want the Bears to do.
That's the big thing because, hey, it's okay. You got Alex Leatherwood. That's all that matters. Good job. Oh, man. Fields is going to fuck it. Well, the funny thing is, you sign a bunch of receivers to help him who immediately get injured in practice, like Byron Pringle, injured. N'Keal Harry, injured. Equinemy St. Brown, I think he's alive for now.
Not for long. Not there long at this point. We're looking for high schoolers at this point. Anybody we can get. We're gonna get the Kmart parking lot. Come on, throw some doors up your way.
You're gonna be the We Are Marshall of professional football.
Pretty much.
But there's some other teams I think are definitely in the conversation. Like I said, brought up your 2 teams. The Texans. I think the Texans are definitely.
That's the worst roster in football, in my opinion.
I actually agree, 100%.
On paper, they're the worst team in football.
Yeah, I don't fully disagree. Just because you look at the roster, I mean, you got Brandon Cooks, who's the fact that he can put up 1,000 yards with
every year,
those QBs every year. I'm just like that's saying something to his talents. Larry Tunsil, who's solid, but what else you guys?
Davis Mills, you got a rookie running back, Dameon Pierce. He's unproven. I don't even know who's at tight end.
Brevin Jordan. I know that because I have him in my fantasy league. There were no tight ends. I needed somebody.
That seemed like an auto draft pick, like one of mine.
Yeah, so you got the Texans, Jaguars. I think are possible.
their schedule's not terrible though. If you look through the schedule, there's some winnable games for the Jaguars, and they do play the Texans twice.
And again, you're not dealing with Urban Meyer, so
nope.
You're already in a better position than you were last year.
And
you got the real MVP, $18 million man,
Christian
fucking Kirk. All praise.
They definitely made steps. Like, we're going to talk about this later. I think they made one of the most colossal draft day errors of all time. We'll get to that. But they do have a nice roster built better than last year, 100%. I don't think they're in the conversation for number one simply because they're in the division with Houston, but they're still not going to get out of the top 10, I don't think.
Yeah. Some other teams I want to talk about. You want to draft some ability?
I would say I think Atlanta has an outside shot of hitting them.
That's the other one I was going to say.
I think Atlanta is a real.
I was looking at their schedule. They pretty much are favored to beat nobody this year, and they're being pushed out once. I don't know if their schedule's going to be anywhere near where they need to get out of that tank bowl contending ship.
Yeah, I was like when I was writing these teams down, I'm like Atlanta definitely has a shot because when outside of you look at that offense. First of all, Mariota is your QB. Mariota's fine in small dose, but the full-time starter,
They lost when they lost Matt Ryan. They go down to Mariota. That's even worse. For God's sake.
You got Mariota. You got, Kyle Pitts, who's a stud. I love Kyle Pitts.
That's their offense. Their offense.
There it is, right there.
and Drake London, if he can stay healthy.
Maybe obviously rookie, uncertain to say. If London and Algier wind up being good players, I just don't think it's this year. They have a future with the two of them, right. But is that going to win them games right now? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, no. You got defense. You got AJ Terrell, who really impressed me last year. I thought he was fantastic last season.
Yeah, he was a surprise.
Brady Jarrett, and that's it. That's all you got.
Yeah, this team is going to be, they're going to be hurting. I think teams are on to Patterson now that they're going to have the spy on Patterson at all times, so they're not going to let him do what he's done the past few years. It's the cat's out of the bag on his playbook. So
yeah, he's going to be shut down this year. Don't pick him in your fantasy team.
I'm saying the same thing as you.
I will pick him because I am out of drafting. So.
Saying that you're going to get audited at the quarter of Patterson.
We'll touch base on Monday.
Two more things I want to throw out for potential number one pick status. The Giants and the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks more so than the Giants.
Yeah, the Seahawks have made so many questionable moves, and they have two stud wide receivers. And aside from that,
they're catching balls from Geno Smith or Drew Lock.
They are intentionally tanking, and they gave up 2 first-round draft picks in a row to get Jamal Adams.
They just had to pay a ton of money to.
Yeah, and the Jets are jumping up and down with the 2 picks they got for the Jamal Adams trade. Like more times than not, in a trade like that, you're like, oh, the team with the stud usually did at least okay. This is rare for me to say, the Jets destroyed them on that trade.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good for you guys. So yeah, that's it for the Tank Bowl, and you guys feel that? It's gonna warm in here. I don't know if it's me or it could be our next topic. What head coaches are on the hot seat? Yeah. Now, talk about the AFC real quick. I feel like a lot of their coaches have really good job security. There are 2 people I got my eye on this year. One's an outside shot. One I think, if you don't perform, you're definitely gone. The one I think is definitely gone if he doesn't perform. Josh McDaniels.
Same.
Just because of how disastrous his tenure in Denver was.
The fact that it's hard to believe, like looking back at this, that was almost 12 years ago. He was the coach.
Yeah.
We're talking
really that long.
It was that long. Yeah, it was that long ago. And he's going into a team that you're 100% right, Chance. This is a team that is in win now mode. Vegas is ready. They've put together a team. They've made moves. They've spent the money. This team, if they don't make the playoffs, he's in trouble. If they have a losing record, you're 100% right. This could be a one and done.
Yeah, I feel like McDaniel, because of what he did in Denver, is already on thin ice coming into this one. I still don't question that. I think they should have just kept Rich Bisaccia for a year. I thought like given what the team went through last year, the fact they were able to rally and even make the playoffs, I thought that was damn impressive. I feel like he kind of got shafted through all this and just hired a tool in Josh McDaniels. So yeah, I feel like especially since the AFC West, we'll talk about later, is a fucking murderer's row of teams. I feel like if he just gets I think if he gets out coached on several occasions, I feel like he's on the hot seat. Someone else. This is an outside shot. I don't think he'll get fired, but I think like if there's gonna be like a one like random weird Brian Flores-esque firing, it's gonna be this guy, Brandon Staley. Especially considering like Brandon Staley, I thought did a pretty solid job in his first year. But if you think about it, he is like the sole reason they didn't make the playoffs last year. I feel like if he does something similar, if he has the coaching blunder just as bad, he's gone.
Yeah, it depends on how his defense does. Obviously, his defense has got to pick it up. They got that whole scheme. The guys did his little advanced defensive scheme that they had success with before. So I don't know if he's going to be able. I think that they're going to be good enough that he'll make it through.
That's why I said there's an outside chance. Yeah. I don't think he will because you know
right.
He's doing wonders.
What about Lovie Smith?
Oh, Lovie Smith isn't bad.
I feel like he doesn't have the success. He doesn't have the pedigree. I mean, I remember him well as a Bears fan from way back when. I liked him as a coach, but he never really got the job done past the defensive side. Texans have the worst, like I said, the worst roster we've said in football at this point. And at some point, he might just be a scapegoat.
Well, that's the thing. I would say it'd be weird to fire a coach after the first year, but they literally just did that with David Culley. So I think it's not out of the question.
Right. That's why my dark horse as well.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a bad pick. I just think I always like have a weird thing firing coach after their first year, unless you know like or Meyer and you're just like outright terrible.
Agreed. I mean, I agree. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, like we'll see. I don't think you're wrong in throwing his name out there, but I do think that I do think that he'll stick around for at least next season. Mike, anyone else you want to throw out there?
And this one's, I don't think that it's like a really eminent situation, but if the team tanks, Frank Reich. Because if Indy does not do anything with the talent they have on this roster, and they did make a move to upgrade a quarterback, even though it's just Matt Ryan, he's in a much better situation than he's been in a long time, has a much better offensive line than he's had it in Atlanta in years. And if that team with, Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman, who looks like he's ready to become a stud, does not make the playoffs, Frank Reich's in trouble.
Yeah, that's what I thought about. I think Frank is too good of a coach to get fired. But yeah, like if like
I kind of think it's playoffs or bust for him, to be honest with you. I think if he doesn't make the playoffs, he could be gone. Absolutely
possible. All right, moving over to the NFC. There's one name in the NFC that immediately jumped out to me.
I got one.
Matt Rule. Same guy, man. He has not shown any improvement in his term there. Does not have a very promising situation this year. I think that he's probably the first to go overall, as far as I'm concerned. He's my prediction to be the first guy fired.
I mean, I think he would have been fired this year, or last year, I should say, after last season, had it not been for the massive contract he signed when he came on board. So I think exactly right. That contract is the only thing keeping him employed.
Good point. I think they're going to get sick of that. But I think they're not going to be able to lean on that.
Yeah, unless they have a drastic turnaround, which I don't think is going to happen. He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one I want to throw out there, NFC East, Mike McCarthy. I think the biggest problem with McCarthy is the fact that he plays in the NFC East, so you're guaranteed to have at least a winning record given. And the Cowboys usually have
9 wins.
These are a pretty soft schedule, anyways. Yeah. So I think that's the issue. But the problem is, I think Mike McCarthy, kind of like when he was with Green Bay, he is the thing holding this team back from real greatness.
That's true. That's a very good point.
So, I feel like if the Cowboys really underperform this year, which, well, spoiler, I think they will. I think there's a good chance he's gone.
I want to throw out Ron Rivera possibility.
That was another one on my list. Ron Rivera. I think
obviously had some off-season issues, social media-wise, et cetera, or not social media, whatever, socially, as you would say. And you have a group that's probably not going to be the greatest performing squad in history. They're kind of always mired in this mediocrity at best. I think the door is already open, and all I have to do is make a mistake or two, and they're just like, you know what, we need to just cut ties. I mean, granted, it's Washington, so it's granted like the ownership is not exactly he's in the right place in a way, but they might need to make an example out of somebody to show they're getting better. You know.
Yeah, I think the failure relay at the feet of Ron Rivera. I don't fully blame him just because look what he was able to do in 2020. I know it's
nothing.
It's weird to say. 7-9, but they still won the division, which reminds me how sad that the NFC East is. Still won the division. He was able to put together a pretty solid defense his first year. They were really bad last year. I don't know what happened, but I do think that the commies are. Ron Rivera is one that's definitely. I think.
Are we going with that?
Looking at the
commies. Are we really going with that? The commies.
I'm not gonna call them the Commanders. They are the commies.
I love it. I'm here for it, of course.
So anybody else you guys can think of?
I got one again, and I'm going with the very same idea, kind of that I did in the AFC, and it's with an NFC team, and that's Cliff Kingsbury, because
I thought about Kingsbury.
Arizona's got another team. If they don't do good, they need to make a change.
If I would have put Kingsbury on this list, or I would have said Kingsbury, if they didn't just extend him before the season started.
It's possible, but remember, this is a team right now that has, they knew the Hopkins suspension had to have been coming for that draft night trade to have happened when they picked up Hollywood Brown. They have a really, really solid wide receiver core. They have a quarterback who is like, he's above average. He's not elite, but this is a guy that should be leading this team at the bare minimum to a wild card spot. And if they're not able to win 9 or 10 games this season, this is too much consistent mediocrity out of them. They need to do something with this talent to push themselves above the edge. And he's another very similar situation to the Colts. If he can't pull it off this year, is he going to be able to pull it off?
Yeah, I'm just curious about what the contract would be, what the contract situation would be if he did get fired. Just because, like I said, they just extended him, and I agree with everything you're saying. I think he should be fired. I think Cliff Kingsbury is a shitty coach, but I'm just curious, like that the possibility with with everything he just signed to.
What about Pete Carroll?
That's a good one.
I don't think they'll fire him. I think they'll let him finish out the season and then retire.
I think that could absolutely be true. But definitely has a case where obviously we already mentioned their quarterback situation and everything else. It just seems like there's not a lot of chance that he's going to do great. So, I agree, Chance, that they probably will give him the dignity of letting him finish out the season and trending upwards because they can't really do much about the quarterback situation in this moment. So they kind of let it go, like a lame duck season in a way, let him go.
Yeah. I think if they get a solid draft pick and where everyone draft like Bryce Harper next season,
right?
Bryce Harper, yeah, Bryce Harper. Bryce Young. Too many fucking Bryces.
Bryce Harper. Yeah, I was like, wait, that's a totally different sport.
There are too many Bryces in the world of sports. But if they're able to get Bryce Young in the next round, have him under Carroll, I think that'd be a pretty good situation. Yeah. So I think Pete Carroll's got a pretty solid job. Like, if he doesn't come back next season, I think it's because he retires. I think it's the only reason.
Quite possibly. He just might feel burnout. That's the other thing too.
That's another thing. That's another thing.
So
been doing it for a hell of a long time.
Yeah. So that's it for Coach on the hot seat. Now we're going to throw a couple. Going to be like Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and throw a couple Hail Marys out there because we are going to give, before the season even starts, we're going to give our playoff predictions. So we're going to go division by division, wild cards for each conference. Starting with the AFC. AFC, which is going to be insane this year. I think this
the West is going to
we'll get to all that. This is a pretty tough one to predict, but let's start with the easy ones. AFC East, I feel like the Bills take us again.
Bills all the way. Yeah, no problem there.
Nobody's even challenging. Bills.
Moving on to the AFC North. Now, this is where my boys come from. I'm picking the Baltimore Ravens. I think the only reason they didn't make the playoffs last year is just because they got hit by a metric barrage of injuries. If they stay healthy, they're in the playoffs. The Bengals are out.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to go with the Bengals going
Really?
back in there. I think they're going to prove it's not a fluke, and I think they have a lot of talent to do it. I'm not saying the Ravens couldn't do it. Absolutely, it's going to be a hell of a battle between them all season. I think. I wouldn't be surprised if they both make the playoffs. That'd be my actually prediction. They both make the playoffs.
I'm going to go with that as well. I think Baltimore does win the division, but obviously it's going to be a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. Cincinnati does not have nearly the defense that Baltimore does. Baltimore has quite possibly one of the two best playmakers in football on the field, who can make magic out of anything. And he's actually getting maybe not the best receiving core, but I think he's got a better run game coming in this year. And Baltimore has just so many more intangibles than Cincinnati does. Cincinnati is going to be winning a lot of games that are going to be shootouts, whereas Baltimore is just going to be holding up for a 17-15 win or something like that.
I think so. I think Baltimore is going to be up there in the conversation.
I think the two head-to-head battles are going to say a lot about where they're going to end up.
Yeah. They both make the playoffs, though. I agree with you on that, Paul. Easy, both of them.
Okay. I'll hold that for the wild card spots. AFC South. Now, we just did talk about Frank Reich. What they're going to do, and how important for it is to make the playoffs. And I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to do it winning the division. I think I have the Colts, even though the Titans have held this crown for the last 2 years, with the addition of Matt Ryan, Stephon Gilmore, the defense already being as good as it, the offensive line being already as good as it is. I think that the Colts are going to make a real push for the AFC South crown.
Spoiler for me, in my picks, I don't have the Titans make the playoffs this year. I think that I do think that the Colts are going to upend them as well in the division, and the Titans are just going to miss out. That's my call on that one.
Interesting.
And you can mark this one unanimous, because even though I said I have him on the hot stove for getting fired, that is if they don't make it, because they are supposed to make it. That is the team that should win this division.
Absolutely.
All right, and the last one. This is the most interesting division we're talking about today, because I feel like this is the only division where every one of us could have a different answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's AFC.
And be right. I feel like every one of us could potentially be right too, man. It's like, this is a throw-up division, to be honest with you.
All right, Bill, what you got?
I'm going Chargers. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I do think that Kansas City is going to take a step back a little bit. I think Denver's not going to quite be there yet, and I think the Raiders are a step below everybody else at this point. But they're gonna have a strong push. But I think the Raiders are going to end up just underneath the Broncos at that point.
Interesting. I also have the Chiefs not taking it this year, but I got 4 words for you, baby. Broncos country. That's right. I got the Denver Broncos. I'm going the second pick. Got the Denver Broncos taking the division, just because I feel like the thing that has been holding them back these past couple of years is the lack of competent quarterback play and offensive scheming. Looks like they're going to have both. So I think with that and that defense, which has been excellent, low-key excellent for the past couple of years,
it's on the field too much.
I think they're going to take it.
I don't disagree. That could be a chance. I do wonder if they gel well enough early on. I think they might stumble a little bit getting into it, and that might be too much of a. They might put themselves too much of a hole to get all the way back up. That's my problem. The Chargers are ready to go. That's why I picked them over the Broncos. I do think the Broncos are a solid choice, though. Like I said, this is really a division where anything can happen at this point.
This division is going to be insane this year. But Mike, who do you got winning this one?
I hate to be agreeing with Paul so much, but I also have the Chargers this time. Because you're talking a team that was so on the cusp of it last year, and everything they've done in this offseason has just made the team look so much better. They've built around Herbert. Herbert is Herbert is ready to make a step to the next level of quarterback with what they put around him. If he does make that leap, I don't know how they don't win at least 12 games.
All right, and we're going to our wild card predictions. So, Mike, I'm going to go to you first. Who are your wild cards for the playoffs?
So the first one's an easy one, and that's Kansas City, because Patrick Mahomes is going to will that team to 10 wins regardless. How the rest of the offense, aside from Kelsey, might not look spectacular, but that you never bet against Patrick Mahomes. I easily have them taking probably the 5 seed. The 6 seed, I am going to go with Cincinnati Bengals. Again, I think they take a step back from where they were last year, but they, with the exception of maybe the Chargers and the Bills, might have the most exciting offense in football. All three of them are going to put up such big numbers offensively. Their defense probably will make those games closer than they should be. But I do like them for the 6th seed. The 7th seed is a little bit tough. I do think it's going to come out of the West. I slightly do give the advantage, just ever so slightly, to Oakland, just because I think Vegas. Yep, I'm going to keep saying that forever. To Vegas, I just think there's a little bit more cohesion than Denver. Denver is making the right moves for next year, and I think right now but Denver is going to be like, they're going to be picking number 18 overall next year. They're going to be like the last team that doesn't make it. And if you tell me that Denver makes it over Vegas, I'm not going to disagree with that. One of them is going to get the 7th seed, and the other one is going to have like the highest possible or lowest possible draft pick without making the playoffs.
Interesting. Okay, PLD, what do you got for your wild cards?
All right. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. At this point, same thing as well as Mike said. I can't bet against Mahomes. He burned me already by not going to the Bears, and then he and then he's shown why later on why we're so fucking upset about it. Fucking Mitch Trubisky, motherfucker. Anyway, let me. I will say this: the Chiefs are going to take that just to break my heart, just to stab that a little bit more into me. This is where I also next seed down. That's where I have the Baltimore Ravens making their thing right there. Like we said before, again, it could be Bengals, could be Ravens. Either way, I think if the Ravens win, this is where the Bengals end up. Honestly, I think they're both making the playoffs. In my final seed, I see what you're saying, Mike, about Oakland. I just did Oakland.
You did too.
I'm listening to you about Vegas. I do think that's a good shot. I do agree more with Chance on that one, though. I do think Denver's made the few steps forward with the quarterback at that point. That's why Denver makes the final seed in the playoffs at this point.
Okay, and going over to my wild cards, like you guys, I also have the Chiefs. By the fact that a giant piece of that offense is gone and a giant piece of that defense is gone, which is why I don't think I think they won't win the division.
Right.
I do think that Mahomes is still very good at the game of football, and he'll be able to guide that. And despite the fact that I'm trying to replace Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyreek Hill, Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS, who are nowhere near Tyreek's caliber, I feel like he'll be able to do just enough to get that team where they need to go. I do the Titans making a wild card spot.
Wow.
Despite the fact, I know we saw what happened last year, but look, King Henry is going to return. He's had the full offseason to recover. I think the rushing attack is going to be as potent as it's ever been. Despite the fact that Ryan Tannehill is going to severely limit where they can go as far as long-term aspirations, I do think they'll at least be able to make the playoffs. That's for sure. And last wild card spots, I got the Steelers. Now, I know what you're gonna say. I know. Hear me out. Hear me out. Look, I know what people are gonna say. Yeah, we had an anemic offense last year. A lot of that core is still present. We're going right into the season with Mitch Trubisky as our quarterback.
Not necessarily.
Let me stop you right there. Mitch Trubisky is your quarterback. Let me stop you right there. But go ahead. Look.
Just hear me out. Last year, Pittsburgh had a 5% chance to make the postseason. And they did it. What's the one thing we know about this team from the Tomlin era? No matter how bad things look, no matter how dire it seems, this team refuses to die.
Lightning doesn't strike twice. Let's go.
No. Secondly, I'm still going. Let me finish. I got one thing that's going to cement my case and show why they're going to make the postseason. Right there. Steelers got a Super Bowl. Steelers got a Super Bowl. You hear me, bitches? The Steelers are got a Super Bowl.
Only in your mind, my young apprentice.
But okay, if I had to be objective, I had to take myself out of it.
Okay.
Honestly, this last one was hard because there are two teams I think that are vying for this spot in my head. The Chargers are one of them, but I'm gonna be sexy on this pick. I'm gonna take the Dolphins.
Ooh, okay.
Now, on paper, this shouldn't even be close. I mean, the Chargers already have an elite offense, and they just added a bunch of pieces, so hopefully their defense does not let them down like it did last year. But this team, somehow, some way, they will fuck it up. The Dolphins, I think, are poised to have one of the most high-powered offenses in the entire league. Bringing in Tyreek Hill, bringing in Mostert, bringing in Edmonds, bringing in Teron Armstead. They made the offense basically foolproof. Tua is going to have no excuses.
There's zero excuse for Tua.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
can he deliver even with zero excuses?
That's the issue.
That's the question. And I personally, I think yes. I think he is going to deliver. So I'm going to be a little bold. I'm going to go the Dolphins for the number 7 seed in the playoffs this year.
I like bold choices, my friend. You'd
But
lucky on it.
let's be real. Steelers got a Super Bowl. Now, moving on to the other conference, the NFC, which is also difficult, but for the opposite reason. The NFC has suffered a talent draining so vast the entire conference is now a dry state.
Yeah,
So weird.
bad.
I mean, growing up, I know I'm a little older than you guys. Back in my day, the NFC was the fucking kings forever. It's so weird seeing the AFC like just basically switch the size completely on it. Yeah, the NFC is going to be it's going to have a rough. There's not that much talent in there. There's not much you can pull out. Who can you go? It's like the way the race is who's going to lose to the AFC.
There's like 3 teams to pick for the Super Bowl right now in the NFC, whereas the AFC there's like 9 or 10 that can be argued for making a run. Yeah.
So let's talk about what I think is going to be the easiest to predict. The NFC North. I think. Sorry, PL Davis. He still owns you. This is going to be the Packers to lose.
I refuse. I absolutely refuse to put Green Bay in the slot. I will not. I'm giving it to the Vikings.
Okay, that's just out of spite.
I'm holding on to the hope that Aaron Rodgers is like all sorts. He's still bitching up a storm. He still has these little like bitch fest about them losing all their wide receivers, yada yada yada. And him and the coaching staff aren't on the same page all the time. I think they're going to crumble, and they're going to crumble hard. Of course, I've been willing this to happen for about 20 years now. So eventually, it's got to happen.
It has to happen. That's just math.
So I'm going to stand to my ring. The Vikings are going to win this division. They're trending upwards. I think they have a lot of potential, and I think the Packers are going to let themselves down. It's going to be close. The Packers will probably still make the playoffs. I'll give them that. But the Vikings will be there.
I agree. There is a Devontae size hole in the offense, but
Right.
the MVP of LSDs, I think, is still going to somehow. What is it in his entire career? He's taken these like no-name receivers and made them superstars. I feel like he's going to do the same thing here.
You probably
Mike,
will.
You're gonna bet on the Lions? What are you gonna do?
Nah, like this one, it's not only Aaron Rodgers, it's the defense that Green Bay has this year. It really does look like it's a top 5 defense. Aaron Rodgers is going to literally hold that offense on his shoulders. He's they do have a pretty decent run game with Jones and Dillon. I do like that, and it sounds like they're going to do a lot of two running back sets on the field this year, based on everything they've been saying. If Rodgers goes down, this team crumbles.
If anything happens to Rodgers, the team is fucked.
And let's face it, he's not exactly the most strongest of guys at this point. He's an older guy. He's getting hurt more and more. That could quite happen. Absolutely.
He is the most important individual player to his team right now. That is of any player in the NFL. If he gets hurt, his team is done.
100%.
But speaking of old guys, let's talk about the NFC South. Now, I still feel like this is the Bucs to lose, despite the fact that I really have questions regarding their long-term, their longevity.
What are any of the other 3 teams going to do? Like
That's the problem.
That's the thing. Their division is so bad that even though that their offensive line is dropping like flies.
You got to pick the Falcons, the Panthers, the Saints. Even there's nobody who
can
can challenge.
Okay, the Saints
will be fine.
The Saints are going to be in that fine category. They're not a champion though. They're not a contender.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they make the playoffs. I think they may challenge that last wild card slot potentially. Like if they have a big run in them at some point, the Saints possibly. But I still don't think that's going to be enough. So this has got the Bucs written all over it.
Again, I don't think they'll be able to go all the way just because again their team is literally getting beaten to hell and back. But I do think they'll at least be able to win the division. Right. NFC West, what used to be the strongest division in football for Seattle, decided, you know what? Throw it to the wind.
Yeah.
So I do think the Rams are going to run it back for at least the division title this year.
No argument.
No argument there at all. I think it's pretty easy.
Which I know. I mean, the team isn't quite as potent last year. I mean, Andrew was retired. OBJ is gone. No. But in their stead, you got Bobby Wagner, who's continually been a stud that entire career, and the addition of Allen Robinson, who I think is going to be excellent under the Rams offense.
Robinson's an upgrade from Robert Woods, and at this point, OBJ, where he was, sure he was making big plays, but they have a guy, Van Jefferson, who I know he's hurt right now, but that's a guy, while not as good as OBJ, can fill that role. And it's been proven that he can be explosive down the field. They still have one of the best overall offenses in football. They got two very good running backs, whether it's Akers or Henderson. Neither of them are, quote unquote, like elite running backs, but either one of them can do that. And Stafford was on the Lions forever and threw for 4,000 yards every year. And he's got the best talent he's had around him in his career, aside from Calvin Johnson. I just don't see how anybody in this division has all of the tools to beat the Rams. Now, the 49ers do have a lot going for them, but with that wild card of Trey Lance, you just don't know. I mean, maybe Trey Lance could turn into a Mahomes situation, but I just don't see that right now. And they have a good defense. The 49ers are going to contend. I just don't think they're quite there with the Rams. And we talked about the Cardinals earlier. The Cardinals, they seem to be so good on so talented, but they just can't seem to get over the hurdle. And I just don't know that they're going to do it again.
That's a big question mark. As always, Arizona never seems to quite make it, but I think it's one of those things too, where it's got to happen eventually, right? Eventually, you gotta you throw it that kind of talent in there. It's got to eventually happen, which is why I think I will go jumping ahead. By the way, I think they're going to be contending for that wild card spot for sure. But I don't think they have enough at this point to
beat the Rams.
To have to beat the Rams at this point. So it's got to be the Rams.
Yeah, I think there's. I mean, there's a chance San Francisco beats them, but I don't think so. And last and also least, the NFC East. Please. Man, I would love another season like 2020 where every team was just completely terrible.
Not quite gonna happen,
but that's not gonna happen. And I think this one actually has a pretty clear cut. With Philadelphia.
I have a feeling, Philadelphia's got to win this division.
Yeah, I agree.
They got way too much firepower on offense. Their defense is not they're average to above average, which in that division is pretty good. So, they have the best offense in that division by far. They have the most weapons of, Dallas Goedert. They traded for A.J. Brown. They got Devontae Smith. Jalen Hurts can take that. He's proven in fourth quarters. He did will them to wins. He might not have the sexiest stat lines, but he did will them to a couple of wins last year. And you can't teach that. That's something that he has that Kyler Murray has not proven yet. If Kyler Murray had that kind of, just drive to just win at all costs, Arizona would win 3 extra games a year.
Yeah, I think the addition of A.J. Brown, the addition of Hassan Reddick, James Bradbury, Johnson Carter-Johnson, nearly getting the Honey Badger, and also drafting Jordan Davis, I think is going to be a middle-of-the-field shit wrecker. I think that the Eagles added a lot of pieces to make sure that we are going to be the guys for a couple of years to come.
I could see on the darkest of horses that Dallas could challenge, but overall, I think Philadelphia.
God, I hope not.
I hope not too, but I can't ever count them out. They're one of those teams that always seems to never quite go away. They're always hanging in there, ready to go, and they lose in the playoffs, of course. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about getting that division title. But I also will go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sorry to Chance's father. The Commanders are not going to do very well this year.
Ellis, sorry, buddy. You boys are not gonna make it, or will they? Because we have our wild card spots, and this one was difficult just because who is going to be less mediocre?
Oh, the 7 seed is tough.
I'll go for this one. For me, I got 49ers. I got them taking 5. 6, I got Saints, just because I feel like if Jameis can stay healthy, if the team can stay healthy, they'll be all right. And 7th was tough, but I'm going Vikings.
I'm going to be similar to you. I have one different pick. The order's a little different. I'm going to go 5 with the Vikings. I do think the Vikings are better than they're getting credit for. They're kind of sneaking under the radar right now. They don't have any glaring weaknesses to them, and they have Justin Jefferson is one of the best playmakers in the NFL right now. That guy's becoming to the point where it's looking like he's going to be borderline uncoverable in a year or two, maybe even this year. And I definitely think the Vikings can eke out 10 wins, maybe 11, especially in the division that they're in. I think they get the 5 seed. I'm going to agree with you on the 49ers. I'm going to give them the 6 seed. And again, I'm going with the hot seat team. Arizona, you got to do it right now. That's my 7 seed is Arizona. But if they don't do it, bye-bye, Cliff.
Interesting points. Okay, my 5, I had to get, since I wanted the Vikings as a division winner, I kind of have to put the Packers here, don't I? I don't want to, but I will. I'll put the fucking Packers here. 5.
Give your daddy a little credit.
I also agree the Niners are that 6th slot there. That's where I'm having the 49ers. And the final seed I'm going to give to, should I pull a chance and just put the Bears in there for the hell of it? No, I won't.
I would like to make a wager with you if you do.
I will throw it out there. I'm going to say this once quietly. Like, as much as I hate what they've done, the preseason has shown me causes for optimism with Chicago. Not necessarily this season, but I feel like they're trending the right way. This season's not going to be the one, but I think Fields is going to make a big jump this year if they protect him, which they have done a good job protecting him in at least the preseason. We'll see how it goes as we move on. I do think there's a potential there. I like I can never say his name right. So Matt, I know our new Matt. Alfred Bliss. Our new Matt is. I like his coaching style. Our new Matt is better than the old Matt by far, and I do like what he's doing. I like the what he's instilling there, and I do like their future potentially. That might be just me trying to be optimistic. I don't know. I'm not really going to put them in the 7th seed though. I will actually do the same thing Mike did. I'm sliding Arizona. It's now or never.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Arizona was close, but I feel like something is just going to go. I thought they're going to just collapse, but like worse than they have in beforehand. So that's my only reservation about Arizona. That's all. Those are our playoff predictions. Now moving on to, we're going to cast an even bigger Hail Mary, our NFL honors predictions. We're going to predict, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories here today. First of which, all the major ones, first of which is comeback player of the year. For me, this wasn't even close. This has King Henry written all over it. I think that the entire season will recover. I think he's going to come back as strong as he's ever been. And I think he is going to take his 3rd rushing title. Would have taken a 3rd consecutive rushing title last year had he not gotten hurt. But yeah, I got King Henry taking this. Not close.
I don't disagree that Henry's a definite strong possibility. I did just for the sake of throwing other names into the mix. I think we could see Michael Thomas have an explosive year if he can get his shit together. I do think it's a bit going to depend on his personal situation where he can get back into the groove of things and not be punching people and everything else. But if he does devote himself to what he can do, you could see him pulling off.
So I'm going to go slightly different direction here. I do agree with the Derrick Henry. Like, that's got to be the odds-on favorite. But considering somebody who's on screen right now, I thought of this player, and we had a very, very, very funny moment last year involving this player. But I genuinely think he could win the award, and that's Baltimore Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins, because he was on the cusp of what could have been a real breakout season last year. And, obviously got derailed, the day of our fantasy football draft, and somebody had an auto draft setting and the settings had not updated that he was out for the year yet.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, like
round 3, J.K. Dobbins.
I do think he does have a legitimate chance because he was on the cusp last year of, he was going to potentially be a breakout. And I feel like he's going a little bit under the radar this year. People forget how good he was at the end of the season 2 years ago. If he is fully recovered, he very well could take the comeback player of the year.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick. I just think Henry is going to have a monster season.
I agree with you that Henry is probably, it's tough to bet against Henry, but if I'm going to say somebody else, that's the name I'll throw out.
It's a good name. It's a good choice.
Yeah, no, J.K. Dobbins is a good pick. I think Daniel Jones is like an odds-on favorite to do it. I'm just like, why?
I don't know what they're thinking there.
Yeah. Moving on to defensive rookie of the year. Mike, I'm going to go to you first, man. What do you think is going to take this?
Easiest one of all of the categories for me. And I mentioned earlier, I thought Jacksonville made the biggest draft day mistake of all time. this is Aiden Hutchinson's to lose. There is no player in this draft class, offense or defense, who was more pro ready. And just watching him in this preseason, he looks like the best player on that defense already. And Detroit actually doesn't have an awful looking defense this year. They look better than they have in a while. This kid is ready to eat. This kid is the next coming of JJ Watt, pretty much. There's no other player in this conversation for me.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think that Hutch is looking fantastic. I think that, like, first of all, he has that great story, like local boy, grew up in the area, got drafted to his favorite team. And I think like he's a guy who like he can be the face of that defense right now. I think he's that good.
He can be the face of the team, to be honest at this point. He's that solid. I mean, I'm not going to lie either. I think this is definitely Hutchins to lose. I mean, for the sake of the show here and throwing other names just to have him out there, I mean, I got to give Kayvon Thibodeau from the Giants a shot at a linebacker. And because I have to put a Bear somewhere on the list, I'm going to throw Kyler Gordon in there as a number 3 kid. Kyler Gordon, the quarterback. He's actually had a hell of a preseason. It seems like I like the way he looks. No chance in hell, really, but I got to throw a Bear in there somewhere. So that's why I should pick.
All right. And moving on to the other side of the ball, offensive rookie of the year. This one was tougher.
This is really tough.
PLD, I'm going to give you first, man.
I'm going to throw you out. There's 3 names I wrote down. I'm giving love to your teams all the way through. I think you got George Pickens is in there. I think Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, all 3 of them have good shots of. They both have explosive offensive capabilities, and they both have. The Jets are really set up to give Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson their shot this year. And Pickens, like I said, I will fall back to Tomlin being Tomlin. Tomlin does get a lot out of his players, and I think Pickens is in the right place at the right time for him. So those are my 3 choices. There's no definitive answer for me in this one, but those are 3 names I'm circling as the possibilities.
I mean, I'm very much looking forward to George Pickens being an all-star and then running himself out of town in 5 years. It's the way. For me personally, I'm going with a receiver, but I'm going a little off beaten path and going Chris Olave. I think of the rookie wide receivers, I think he was easily drafted to the best situation. Well, besides Treylon Burks, but even then, Olave, I think, is again. We talk about Michael Thomas a bit. Depending on his health and depending on how his sustainability is for the rest of the season, I do think that he has a chance to become a real centerpiece of this offense. And again, we had Jameis throwing the ball, who showed great improvement last year, before he went down for the entire season. I think he's a really good. I think he's a solid quarterback. I think he's going to get Olave a lot of touches in the next season. And again, he's part of an offensive trio that includes Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, 2 guys who are good when they're on the field, but not always reliable. He's young, he's spry, so I do think that he is going to. I think he's going to do really well. Mike.
So yeah, I'm going to sound like I'm a fan of a different team, but I'm going to go with the guy who, prior to the national championship, was on pace to be a top 5 draft pick. And if the national championship game had not happened, he would have been probably taken by Houston at number 3, maybe even higher than that, maybe even number 1 by Jacksonville, and that's Jameson Williams. And I know he's coming off the injury, but when it comes to pure talent of this offensive draft class, that is the guy who I think out of all of them stood out to me the most in college. And he is the best pure athlete on the offensive side of the ball in the 2022 draft class. I know he's going to miss a couple games. We don't know exactly when he's going to get back, and it is an ACL. But still, that kid, if you watch his highlight reel, man, that kid is good, and he's special.
I will agree. Like, he was electric at Alabama. My concern is the injury.
Injury.
Lisfranc is usually a death sentence for skill player. Wait, no, what was Lisfranc? Was it ACL? ACL, sorry. No, Stingley had Lisfranc surgery. Sorry, yeah, ACL. So I mean, I know he'll be back eventually. My question is how long are we going to be waiting to see Williams?
That's the question. That's the big question. How long is it? And the wide receiver class, this is a deep wide receiver class. There's probably 7 or 8 names of the wide receivers that you could say right now, and you can't argue at this point.
Treylon Burks is another one I thought because with AJ Brown gone, he's going to be expected to step up right off the bat.
He's got Robert Woods, but he's got such a opportunity there that just is so few other rookies have. Drake London obviously has the opportunity, but he's got the Mariota situation, and he's hurt.
He's got I know he's the highest take, but he's on the worst offense of any receiver that got drafted in the first round. So.
Absolutely.
I love, but obviously being a Jets fan, I'm hoping for the best. I think Breece has a slightly higher chance than Garrett, just because who's throwing Garrett the ball. We got Joe Flacco or Zach Wilson. I've watched
Cowards.
but like of the two of them, if a running back is to get it, it's actually not Brees is not the one I would pick. If a running back gets it, I'm actually going to go James Cook on Buffalo.
I think at some point in the season he'll move up the depth chart over Devin Singletary, and that kid is going to feast. I am excited.
If a running back wins it, I'm going James Cook.
I just want to say, if we put a picture of a cougar on the back of Garrett Wilson's helmet, Zach will hit it every time. He'll hit it every time because that's what he hits.
He will hit it every single time. Like, hey, we have the perfect motivation for Zach Wilson going forward now. All right, moving on. Defensive Player of the Year. Mike, what you got, buddy?
Well, this one again, I had to think about this one for a little bit, and I think you're going to be happy with my choice, Chance, because there's a guy who he's looking so good. He's getting better every year, and TJ Watt. That's got to be my pick. He's at this point today is better than his brother, and they, obviously, I don't know if he's quite hit JJ's peak level yet, but he's climbing.
He's better than JJ Watt. He is the superior Watt. Turn down for Watt. I 100% agree. I think TJ Watt is going to take his second consecutive Defensive Player of the Year this year. Hell, should have been his third consecutive. Got robbed. I will continue to say he got robbed in 2020. Should have won Defensive Player of the Year that year. But point is, TJ Watt's a beast. Maybe the best defensive player in football besides Aaron Donald in general in football right now. But regardless, the dude is on a whole nother level. He only gets better every single year. It's going to continue. I think it's a good chance he breaks the sack record this year, considering he got damn close and he only played like 14, 15 games. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think he's going to have another monster year. He's going to take his second consecutive Defensive Player of the Year.
I'm going to make it unanimous. I hate to make Chance happy. I'll make it unanimous.
He's that good.
DJ Watt's a beast, man. He's a beast.
And he's still pretty young. He's not. Yeah. He's only fourth year.
Fourth year. Yeah. No. Yeah. Fourth year. Yep. No, fifth. This is fifth year.
That's right. He played fourth. You're right.
Yeah.
He's still got years ahead of him, and I don't think he's peaked.
I don't either.
He's going to be a staple of that defense for a long time. He's going to be like Joe Palmer. He's going to be like a career player for the Steelers. I guarantee it. Like, we will never see TJ Watt in different colors. Watch me say this now, and like he gets like traded out. There's contract stuff. TJ Watt, please. TJ, please don't leave. I love you. Don't leave. Be good, Patrick. You too. Don't leave. I love you. Moving on. Next category we're talking about is Offensive Player of the Year.
I'm going to go.
Many people
throw it out there. I got it right away. I'm going to go with it. This is why the Vikings are to win the NFC Central. See, that's how old I am. I'm talking NFC Central. Justin Jefferson from the Vikings is going to take this by storm. His year. He's going to explode out the gate. He's going to go past Cup, past Tyreek Hill. This is the year where he makes his name and he declares himself the best NFL receiver in the game.
Interesting. Oh, wow. That's a bold prediction.
He has a lot of talent and a lot of explosiveness. I would not be shocked if this is the year. I'm going to make that bold, sexy choice.
You see, I also have an NFC North receiver, but he's not playing the NFC North this year. I got Devontae Adams taking Offensive Player of the Year. I think Devontae has been the best receiver in the league for a couple years. I think he's been an All-Pro every one of the last 3 seasons. Despite the fact that he got a minor downgraded quarterback. I mean, Derek Carr is great. He's not Aaron Rodgers, but Derek Carr's still a great quarterback. I think he is going to be a centerpiece in that offense. But I think the fact that they did play in college is going to aid in that connection, aid in both their plays. And I think that Devontae is going to really elevate that offense. And I think he's going to be recognized for the first time as Offensive Player of the Year.
And I can root for him this year, so I'm good and happy about that. So,
so I'm very tempted to agree with Paul on this one. I have one other person who I'm probably going to push to MVP, but if obviously if they don't get the same person to it, when it comes to a skill position player, I think Jefferson it's very tough to really pick against him. I don't see a running back in the league this year having that kind of dominance. The only other player, honestly, who I think could literally step up and when they're like their position and prove to be that player, but this position never wins it, is Kyle Pitts, a tight end who could be just so dominant. But you're never going to – I don't think we're going to see a tight end win that position. He's the only other player other than Jefferson that I see as a skill player that has a chance to really make that leap in their own position to dominate a position outright. Jefferson just is crossing off everything. He's going to be, borderline Calvin Johnson either this year or next year. And if Kirk Cousins can get it within 5 feet of him, he's going to catch it.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's pain for PLD because, you Calvin Johnson's gone. Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs is gone. Justin Jefferson comes right back into slots right back in.
I love it, God.
But yeah, interesting. So who's your pick again? Is Jefferson?
Jefferson's my pick.
I think there's also maybe an argument to be made for Jonathan Taylor.
I think Taylor would have won last year had the last game not happened.
Right, exactly. I don't see any other running back unless if McCaffrey can stay healthy, which I don't see happening.
Which come on.
Yeah, I can't pick him.
I mean, I think if King Henry has like another like monster season like he did like 2 years ago, I think that he has a good chance. But in addition to comeback player of the year, but yeah, again, I'm going Devontae. So we got two Jeffersons and one Adams.
What are we talking Hamilton at this point? Is this
founding fathers of football? Coach of the year.
This one's easy to me.
Mike, what you got?
Sean McDermott.
I also Sean McDermott.
No brainer.
Now, my question to you guys: do you think there is a chance that Motor City Dan Campbell?
So that's where that's my heart pick right there. Like my head pick is McDermott, my heart pick is Motor City Dan Campbell. I love that dude. So much.
I do love him. He's a good dude, man. I want to see him do well.
I would love that. That would make me happier than Mike Tomlin, but he won Coach of the Year, even though he should, but doesn't matter. He's gonna be a Hall of Fame coach anyways. Yeah, I think I'd be happier than Motor City Dan Campbell winning Coach of the Year.
I just want to hear that speech. Like,
oh my god, that'd be amazing.
I would also throw out there Kevin O'Connell as a shot as well if the Vikings are as good as I think they are.
If the Vikings are like a 10, 11, 12 win squad, Kevin O'Connell is a good shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair shot.
But yeah, I have.
And if Fields stays alive, I'm giving new Matt the trophy. If Fields stays alive, that's all I care about.
Here's my thing with McDermott, though. The Bills are coming into this season fucking pissed, especially after the way their playoff run ended. So I feel like this season's gonna be looking at like 14 to 16 wins.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, so we're all agreeing with McDermott taking the Coach of the Year. Now the big one, MVP.
Mm-hmm.
What you got, PLD?
I hate to be tired and old, but I can't. I've stopped voting against Brady since for a long time now. I think the NFL loves him. That's going to have to play. I think Tom Brady's going to step in, do his Tom Brady thing. They're going to do well enough, and people just see the name, and it's like automatically giving him the crown. I think that he gets the MVP.
When's the last time Brady won MVP?
But that's just it. He's coming back. Like he's retired and he's coming back. I just feel like this is his year to like make his last stand. They're gonna say give him the MVP so he goes out on a high note. Because I don't think they win the Super Bowl, so they give him the MVP if he does well enough. If he does Brady-esque enough stuff and other things, and they give him the MVP so he finally leaves on a high note and has the MVP.
Get the hell out of here.
That's what I'm hoping.
I'm in agreement. Not Brady winning MVP, but I do feel like this is the Brady retirement tour. I feel like this is his last season.
Right.
Mostly because I think Giselle will Giselle's got divorce lawyers on speed dial. Had to come back. Mike, what you got?
I'm going to piggyback on my last answer. If McDermott's going to win Coach of the Year, Josh Allen is the NFL MVP.
Interesting.
Right.
And what was just mentioned earlier with the chip on the shoulder, nobody has a bigger one on their shoulder than Josh Allen right now. I mentioned earlier, I think, with the exception of maybe Lamar Jackson, this might be the biggest, the quarterbacks. He's the biggest playmaker. He can make a difference on his own if he has to. He's probably at the moment the best dual threat quarterback in the NFL. He can run the ball if he has to, but he's got a cannon of an arm. He's got one of the best arms in all of football, and it can also just break off and score from 50 yards out. He's been on the cusp of it. and just the chip on his shoulder after the playoffs last year, plus the division he's in, Josh Allen's going to run wild this year.
Okay, so we got Tom Brady, Josh Allen. Going to harken back to something I said earlier.
Who from Pittsburgh?
Broncos country. Let's ride.
Wow.
I'm going bold. Russell Wilson winning the MVP.
Wow.
Which I know sounds insane considering Russell Wilson is a player who, look, he always starts out looking like MVP and then he peters off towards the back half of the season. And is a guy who has never received a single MVP vote throughout his entire career. I think it's ridiculous. But I think the change of scenery to Denver is going to do wonders for him. I think he's going to be the catalyst for the revival of that team. I'm betting hard on Denver this year. He's going to be the catalyst for the revival of that team. And you look at his head coach, Nathaniel Hackett. The last QB that worked under Hackett was a back-to-back MVP. So I think Hackett's going to work magic for the team and for Russell Wilson, and he is going to win his very first MVP. Long overdue MVP.
It's a bold choice. I mean, I don't think it's an outlandish choice. So, I mean, I'm interested to see how he does in Denver. It's going to be a very interesting season in Denver, definitively. So
he's going to be fun to watch in Denver. I actually quite excited to see what he does on Monday Night Football in a week and a half. So, or should I say 7 days?
That's true. So yeah, those are our predictions. Now we move on to the big one, our week 1 predictions. Season's right around the corner. We're going to be going through all the games. We're going to talk about who we think is going to take each contest. Starting off, we got a big one right off the bat. Thursday night football. The Bills versus the Rams. Last year's Super Bowl champs versus one of the odds-on Super Bowl favorites for next year. I think it's going to be very close, but I am going to lean slightly towards LA on this one. PLD? You're muted, buddy.
sorry about that. I also think it's going to be close, but I think it's going to be leaning towards the other way. I believe it's the Bills are going to win in a close, high-scoring battle.
Yeah, I was going to say the biggest winners are going to be the fans and the ratings because this is going to be a high-octane game. This is going to be a very exciting game. I do lean Buffalo, but I do think that this is going to be a dogfight all the way to the end.
Yeah, it's going to be close. I just think it's also at LA. So given the fact that it's home field advantage, you don't want to lose your home opener after you just won the Super Bowl. So
but the Bills are pissed, man. They want to make a statement.
Bills are very pissed. Bills are very. I think if anybody can shut them down, this could be a preview of next year's Super Bowl.
It could be, absolutely.
Very well, very well.
I think if anybody has the defense to shut down the Bills, it's going to be the Rams.
Possibility.
Now, going on to our Sunday slates. First of all, we got the Saints versus the Falcons. Does anybody want to take the Falcons?
No.
It's
going to be a terrible game.
This is going to be, look.
This could be a slaughter.
New Orleans, all New Orleans has to do is just stand there, and they'll escape with a win.
Yeah.
New Orleans across the board.
Easy.
Also,
Easy,
Sunday we got. This is a big. We got revenge. Our first revenge game.
Big sexy.
Cleveland versus Carolina.
This of the 1 o'clock slate. Like I'll be at a bar watching all the games. Is obviously I have my eyes on the Jets at all times, but when I have my eye looking at something else, if there's something nearby, that's the one I'm going to be watching the closest. And who would have thought that a month ago that the Cleveland Browns against the Carolina Panthers was going to be the 1 o'clock game to watch? I think Baker is legitimately pissed off. And
I do too.
Might actually just for 1 week only look like he was supposed to be the number one pick. I don't think it's going to last all season, but for 1 week only, it will.
I genuinely hope Baker throws for like 400 yards and 5 touchdowns against the Browns. I don't know if it's possible though, because look, even though
they got a good defense,
if Deshaun Watson was not playing, if Deshaun Watson was playing, this wouldn't even be close.
Yeah,
I don't even think it's be close. They got Jacoby Brissett, although as much as I say, I'm still leaning the Browns just because that defense is pretty stacked.
They got a good defense, they really do.
I feel like Myles Garrett is going to own Baker several times.
I feel like Baker might trip over himself, and like he might get a little distracted, might get a little rattled in his attempt. He wants to do so much, he's going to try to force it too much, and he can't force it against that defense. I don't think so. I'm also leaning towards the Browns in this one
with Denzel Ward and the cornerback Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome is really good. So
I think the Browns end up winning this. It's going to be a close one, but I think the Browns.
Unless I want Carolina to win, I think the Browns are too much.
No, and I agree with that. Like I want to see Carolina come out there and steamroll them, but the defense of Cleveland is too good. I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game, and Cleveland will eke it out. Probably, running the ball 70% of the plays and eke out a 20-14 win.
If you don't have a reliable QB game, just give it to Chubby, give it to Hunt, and it'll be good. San Francisco versus the Bears. Sorry, PLD. I got the Niners winning it. It's not even going to be close.
Yeah, the same. I mean, this one doesn't look like it's going to be close at all. The biggest pieces of interest is both quarterbacks. This is where Trey Lance could wind up again looking like he is the Mahomes player. It's hard to say after week one, but he's got the matchup that he wants for it. I do think Fields is going to come out with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder to say, hey, I am legitimate. I don't think it's going to be enough to beat the 49ers, but the 49, he will put up a respectable performance on his own. It's just the team as a whole is not even close to where the Niners are.
No comment. No. All right, I will comment. I'm not gonna do that to you guys. I will say I agree. I picked the Niners. I want to throw out there though. I think it might be closer than people are predicting. I think the Bears do show some fight. I think Fields does try to make a statement, not enough to win, but I think it's closer than people are going to be expecting. That would be a win for the Bears as far as I'm concerned. If they stay in there and hang in there against the Niners, and then that's going to be a sign of them moving forward. I want to see them be successful. I want to see them not fall apart. I want to see them just hanging in that game, play that running game, get Montgomery going, get them going, let Fields be Fields. Let the defense, the young defense, maybe just have some moments. They'll probably give up a big play here or there, and that's what's going to end up sinking them. But stay in the game. That'll be the win for the Bears. But the Niners are going to take it overall.
I feel like Fields is going to get I feel like Nick Bosa is going to murder Fields.
I wouldn't be surprised. But the offensive line did really well against that Cleveland defense in the preseason. I know there wasn't a whole lot of it then. So I think that they're showing a lot more promise than I ever would have given credit for before the preseason started. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. Moving on. My boys, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the reigning AFC champions, the Cincinnati Bengals. Y'all know where I'm going. It's Pittsburgh, baby. Let's go. Look, I know. You got the high-powered offense. You got Joe Burrow, and you got Joe Mixon, and you got Jamar Chase. But that defense I think is going to be stellar. We got the additions. We got the addition of Miles Jack. We got Levi Wallace. We really improved our secondary game. And look, if the offense can just produce anything, I think they'll be able to keep it competitive. They're going to be able to win. Because what does Tomlin do best? He finds a way to win, even though he should have lost weeks ago. But yeah, no, I got Pittsburgh. I don't want to jump on. I don't want to jump on the train with me. No, don't want to jump on the train. Come on.
I think Pittsburgh can potentially, put up a fight if they can establish a run game. The key is keeping the Bengals offense off the field. They have to get possession of the ball. Pittsburgh does not want to just march down the field and score, because every time you give Cincinnati the ball, even if they don't score, they have McPherson who can drill. That kid's got ice in his veins. It's almost guaranteed points this year, I think, for Cincinnati when they touch the ball. So if Pittsburgh can keep Najee healthy, keep him on the field, and just chug it along, and just Mitch not make some mistakes, maybe they'll be able to keep it competitive. But Cincinnati's going to put up way too much.
You just said something there, though. Mitch not make mistakes. There we go. And there it is. Because Mitch is going to force it, and that's what he does. That's what he does at this point. I've got to guarantee it. I can be much more clear about him now that he's not in the Bears. I had this rosy optimism for a few times when he was on my team. Just you want him to do well. He does really well. He does just well enough to lose. And that's what he always has done. I think that's what he's going to do again. He's going to not keep that Bengals offense off the field. He's going to do it for a bit. He's going to have a key interception. He's going to have a key turnover at some point. Bengals are going to just end up taking it away.
And let me just say, I want Mitch to start week one just because our offensive line is still a little sus, and I don't want my new Lord and Savior Kenny Pickett to die first.
You can't throw him out there like that. Yeah, I agree.
No, yeah. So like, I keep him on the bench, and Mitch, I'm putting my faith in you. Don't let me down, please. Don't let me down.
I've been there before, Chance. I wish you well.
I know, but like, look, he was looking pretty good in preseason, which I know is sign one. But I think he's gonna do just fine in Pittsburgh until our Lord and Savior Kenny Pickett is ready to go.
I feel like you're reading my old quotes here from a different era, but that's possible. Okay.
We all just do okay. Okay, that's all we need to do. Just do okay. Our receivers and Najee will do the rest. Mitch, just do okay, please. Okay, moving on. We're going to the other side of the state. Well, not the other side of the state because it's an away game. The point is the other team in the state, Philadelphia, is taking on the Detroit Lions. Now, I think all of us would be very happy to see our boy, Motor City Dan Campbell, open the season with the win. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
I also don't think it's going to happen. But if you remember last year, at the end of the year, Detroit was playing, I believe it was the Rams. And they go onto the field, and it's third and long, and they pull off a fake punt. And then they get to third and long again, and they go for it. And they get it. Yeah, and then they get it. So they're all of a sudden. But my point going here is Motor City Dan Campbell is not afraid to take risks. And the Eagles are a team that I feel like you can take risks against. So in this circumstance, I still think that the Eagles are going to win this game, but Detroit is going to keep it way closer than anybody is giving them any credit for. And this game is going to come down to the last possession.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a similar situation last year when they took on the Niners, a game they had no business winning, and they nearly did it.
They nearly did it. Like that game, if you remember that was the DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, where all of a sudden in the second half, both of them had like 7 catches and 100 yards receiving, and Jared Goff, not necessarily the best deep ball receiver. And again, not a deep ball receiver, deep ball thrower, but they don't need that necessarily. Hawkinson is good enough to get them 7 yards, and Swift makes things happen that no running back should be able to do. The Eagles are really good on offense. They are going to have one of the stronger offenses in football, I do think. And I don't think Detroit's defense is quite there. Hutchinson's going to have trouble controlling them because I think they're going to double team Hutchinson on the line right away. They're not going to let him make an impact right off the bat.
Yeah.
And Detroit's going to put up a fight. They're not going to win, but they're going to put up a fight.
Agreed. I will say real quick, as my love for Dan Campbell is there, I will say you guys are talking me into it. I actually thought the Eagles might whoop them, but listening to you guys, I'm kind of coming around on this being a lot closer than I initially thought. So go Campbell.
I think it's potential to be close, just because, again, Dan Campbell is a crazy man and will do just about anything he can to win.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the Eagles are going to take it just because I feel like they added too much elite talent to fail. Yeah. If they lose to the Lions week 1, I am seriously rethinking my position about them in the long term.
Yes,
I don't think it's going to happen. Next, we have Indianapolis, the Colts versus the Houston Texans. I think that this is the perfect game for Indy to open the game with, just because they're going to want to assert their dominance in the division week 1.
This is probably one of the 2 games that I think is going to have the biggest point differential. I can't see Houston coming even remotely close. No, Indy's got too good of a defense, and the offense is going to want to make a statement. Like you said, Taylor's probably going to run for about 150. Pittman's probably going to catch 7 or 8 balls for over 102 touchdowns. I can't see this going any other way than like a 15 to 25 point win for Indy.
Yeah, I see this being close in the first quarter. That's about it. And then Indianapolis is going to run away with it at that point. It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I agree. I think Indy's got this firmly in the bag. Next one, we got AFC East matchup. The New England Patriots are going to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Now, despite the fact that Coach Belichick is still there, the fact that the game is in Miami, which is the place where the Dolphins usually end up winning these matches, makes me lean toward the Dolphins. Not only that, but I feel like the Patriots are just not going to be very good this year.
Yeah,
this is something I have been waiting to say forever.
Yeah, this is the least talented roster on paper they've had in a long time.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. I keep hoping the Packers are going to be this way eventually. But yeah, I think the Dolphins are going to take this. I think Tua is going to be make or break right away. I think. He's got a chance, but he's got a chance to make a statement against the Patriots. And if he is the quarterback that Miami wants him to be or sees him as, we could see a blowout with the new offensive weapons. I don't predict a blowout, but I do think the Dolphins take the win.
Yeah, I agree.
That's good.
I was going to say, I agree. But the bigger thing that people aren't realizing about New England, everyone's just looking at their offense. Their defense is weaker than it's been in a long time.
I was about to bring that up. I think this is the perfect place to showcase the potency of that new offense because Dante Hightower is gone. Kyle Van Noy is gone. J.C. Jackson, who was their best defender last season, for some reason they refused the franchise tag, gone.
Agreed.
So, yeah, I feel like this is going to be a statement game for Miami. Up next, we got Baltimore versus the New York Jets. Pain is on the menu for you this Sunday because the Baltimore Ravens are going to wreck shop in MetLife.
If by some miracle Zach Wilson plays, the Ravens will win by 18. If it's still Joe Flacco, it'll be Ravens by 28. So,
well, that's right. It's gonna be Joe Flacco versus his old team.
Revenge.
Revenge. We're gonna do this.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm not going to the Jets are to win. As long as the Jets stay close, I think they are going to show something in this first week that's going to kind of keep people excited about them, keep excited about their future. Yeah, the Ravens are going to win it, but I don't actually expect a blowout here. I could be wrong. Absolutely, but something my gut's telling me they're sticking around.
The big question here for this game is going to be the game plan. Obviously Baltimore is a run-first team. They have been for a long time. The Jets have what looks to be potentially like a shutdown corner, but the other side of the field is going to be open. So Rashad Bateman is going to be probably, if you have him in fantasy, get him the hell out of your lineup because he's probably not going to get thrown to. However, whoever
sauce on him the entire time,
they might not even throw it towards him. Whoever is going to be considered the Baltimore number 2, who I'm not even certain they have that established on a depth chart yet. Whoever their number 2 is could run absolutely wild against the Jets. So. And that's just going to be all season. Whatever a number 2 wide receiver on a team is going to go ballistic because after Sauce, the Jets secondary, while they improved it, don't get me wrong, from what they were last year, obviously just having him is a big step up, but yikes. And the defensive line, Jackson could run for 150 in this game. It won't shock me.
Yeah, it's going to depend on who they put Sauce on, whether it's Rashad Bateman or Devin Duvernay, which I guess will be the number 2.
I guess he's their number 2, and watch him blow up. And again, you're also going to see Mark Andrews over the middle, just probably. He's going to get 6-7 receptions, probably at least 1 touchdown. They're going to win. I can only hope for the Jets to put up a fight, but that defense on Baltimore is just forever. They've been deep. They're probably even more so than New England, year in and year out. When you think they're going to go down, they just continuously are good. And they got Kyle Hamilton in the draft. And I know that I've heard he's had rookie struggles, but the kid was one of the most talented kids out of college coming out. It was surprising to see how far he fell down the draft board. And it's Baltimore. They always have, their defense is always solid. And this is for them, this is a warm-up game.
Up next, this should be the primetime matchup. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Washington Commanders. Question here is, what wins out? The awful or the even more awful?
This is the worst game of the week, I think. I don't care who wins this game. Let's put it that way. But if I had to make a prediction, I'm going to say that the Jaguars are going to pull it out. I don't even know why. I just think they're slightly better than the Commanders, but I just move on. That's all I got to say.
We all saw what happened the last time Carson Wentz played Jacksonville, and it's it's at FedEx Field, which, oh God, that field is going to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, yes it is. I will say, I live in Orlando, so our local games, we either get the Tampa feed or the Jacksonville feed. I can just hope that the Jacksonville feed is on local TV and they black it out so it's not even on.
Okay, but if you had to pick somebody, you got Jacksonville. I'm also slightly leaning towards Jacksonville.
I'm going to go Washington simply because it's the home field advantage. I do think that Carson has enough to game manage enough. Trevor's going to probably have a little bit of I need to prove myself. Could make a couple of mistakes in there. I don't love either team whatsoever, but I'm just going to go based on it being the home field advantage. I'm going to go with Washington.
All right. Next up, we have the well, for me, it's the 125 slate. I guess it's the four slate for everybody else.
Yeah.
For the East Coast. It's a new era in New York football. New York football Giants as they march into Nashville. Nashville and Memphis. Where's the Titan Stadium?
Nashville, right?
Nashville.
Yeah.
As they march into Nashville to take on the Titans, the number 1 seed in the AFC last year. And hey, look, they got more pieces. They got Evan Neal to aid and Andrew Thomas, to protect the O-line. Harold Line just went down with an ACL tear for the Titans. But I still got the Titans winning this fairly handedly.
There's no way. The Giants are still – they don't have an identity, and that's their biggest thing. A lot of these other bad teams at least are trying something to form themselves. And of all the bad teams in football, the Giants lack an identity. They're not going to find it week 1. Easily, Tennessee runs away with this one.
I also think this is like a big statement game for Derrick Henry, because this is the perfect defense to make an example of. Hey, I'm back, and this is what I can do.
I agree. This is a game that the Giants are just going to continue to be the Giants. The Titans are going to have a nice, easy win to begin their season as they try to make it back. I think the Titans can get some false hope after this win, unfortunately, and it'll be find out later on that they're not quite as good as they think they are.
That's a valid point. The Giants they're a mess. So they're I don't know where they're not a mess. Name anywhere they are. I mean, maybe the O-line is moving in the right direction, but that's about it. And Thibodeau, but he's hurt already too. So
yeah, Thibodeau's already down for a couple weeks.
Yep.
So yeah, the Giants they're a mess.
Yep, Titans all done.
Yeah. Moving on to my neck of the woods, the Arizona Cardinals are hosting the Kansas City Chiefs for their home opener.
It's gonna be a fun game.
This should be a fun game.
Yeah.
Because on paper, the team's actually pretty even. They have pretty solid offenses and kind of sus defense.
Yeah.
Cardinals more so now that Chandler Jones is no longer here.
Yeah, this is a game that the Chiefs are going to take. I don't think it's going to be too difficult for them. I think that Arizona will put up a bunch of points, but I think Mahomes wants to make a statement that he can still be Mahomes even without Tyreek, and I think he's going to come in hard, come strong, and I think they end up blowing the Cardinals out of the water. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but you're not going to see much hope from the Cardinals in this one, I think.
Mike, what you got?
Yeah, I definitely have Kansas City. I'm going to go more in the range of about a 10-point win. I do agree that there is going to be a lot of points put up in this game. This is definitely one that I would be looking at the over for week 1. The Mahomes, this is a game I don't see a lot of rushing yards, honestly, on either side of the ball. Arizona might try to establish it early in the game, but the second they get above, they're going to have to get rid of it, just abandon it right away. I see Travis Kelce running wild in this game. I think this is going to be definitely a big game. Who's going to stop him? Arizona's notoriously for the past year has been terrible against the tight ends, and he's the primary target. I think Kelce goes nuts in this game.
I would tend to agree on that front. Now the first matchup in what is sure to be the best division football this year, we got the Las Vegas Raiders taking on LA's biggest mistake, the Chargers.
LA's biggest mistake. That's a bold statement because you're talking about LA. But I will say, as
far as football goes, LA's mistake.
Okay. All right. I think, like I said, I predict the Chargers to win the division. I think they're going to make a statement in the first game. I think they defeat the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders have a good showing. I don't think it's going to be a necessarily blowout or anything like that. I think they'll keep it close. I think the Chargers will make it a safe victory. They make a 10-point, maybe even 2 touchdowns at some point. But would I be surprised if the Raiders won? I would be shocked. But I'm going to definitely lean toward the Chargers in this one.
Yeah, this game's a real toss of the coin, which is pretty good omen for the Raiders. But it's tough. I'm going to slightly edge towards the Chargers. As long as Brandon Staley doesn't call any more inane timeouts, they'll be fine.
Yeah, this is the Chargers all the way for me. Again, it's not going to be a blowout, but Justin Herbert is this is the year that he's ready to make the jump, from being a very good quarterback to saying I'm in the top tier of quarterbacks. And I think he tries to make that statement immediately. He's got one of, I would consider, the three best wide receiver cores in football with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and now they got Jordan Palmer. I just see Justin Herbert will very likely, I think, has a chance of leading the league in passing yards in week 1. And they're going to come out gunslinging, and I got the Chargers.
All right. NFC North action for you. We got Green Bay versus the Vikings.
Vikings. Go
Good
Vikings. I will predict that. I think this is going to be a good game, but I do think the Vikings win. It's in Minnesota. I think you're going to see what a lot of people are seeing, that the Vikings are ready to take a step forward. I do think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be, overestimating the Vikings. They're so used to winning in this division that I think they could perhaps slip up in week 1. And that's me wanting to happen as well. So maybe I'm willing it to happen. I'm always willing. You really can't trust me in a Packers game anyway, because I'm never going to pick them. I don't care what the hell the situation is. The Packers could play the Titans. They could play they could play the Falcons. I'd still be going through their team. I'd be telling you why the Packers will lose to them. But I do honestly think, I'm trying to be objective. I do think, given the home field advantage and given the Vikings trending upward, I do think they shock the Packers and win now 24-20, something around there.
Yeah, this game I think it's a statement game for the Vikings. It's a test game for the Packers. Are the Vikings legit, and can the Packers be as good without the guy who's been their primary weapon for the past couple of years? I think it'll be close, but I am leaning slightly towards the Packers just because Aaron Rodgers is the X factor. I think if again, we saw him completely fall on his ass in week 1 of the last season, but if he delivers, there are not a lot of teams that can beat the Packers if he's on his game.
And what you're saying right there, you mentioned week 1 last year. I feel like the past few years, the Packers have never hit another gear until they've hit rock bottom. So the Packers never really start out of the gate just like throwing haymakers and stuff like that. They're not the fastest starting team. They're a team that builds on momentum after they bottomed out. And I think that could happen early. And Minnesota is the kind of team that can do that to them. I'm leaning at similar to what Paul said. I think this is going to be a relatively close game, but Minnesota is going to eke it out, I think. And I think later in the season when they play in Green Bay, it's going to be another situation. But week 1, Rodgers needs to have some sort of real fuel for him, and it never happens immediately. It will happen. Trust me on that. It will happen, but I don't think it's week 1.
It never happens unless they're facing the Bears. Then it just happens because fucking Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, that's your owner right there. Respect. Primetime Sunday night football. This game is my literal nightmare. It's Tom Brady versus the Dallas Cowboys. A game that ironically opened up last season on Thursday.
And this year, I don't see how Dallas keeps up in this game. I don't.
I don't either.
Dallas has not done anything to improve aside from season.
I don't want this to be close. I want Tampa Bay to blow this team out of the water.
I think they will. I think you're going to get what you want. I do think it's not even going to be close.
I'd be really, really surprised if Dallas is able to keep up with them. Dallas, they're like a parasite. They never quite go away, but I just don't see it this year. They haven't done enough. They've lost more than they've gained.
Yeah, their off season was fucking atrocious. They didn't do anything off season.
Yeah, I agree.
Got to look at Tampa Bay. Yes, obviously it's been said already about their offensive line woes, but they have so much depth on that team, and Brady has so many different options that he can go to. If Fournette is able to play the way that he did towards the second half of last year, that's all they need. They need just run the ball, let Brady throw a 5-yard pass. Run the ball, let Brady, and that's all they need to do.
Yeah, I mean, run the ball and throw to whoever Trayvon Diggs is covering.
Fair point.
So yeah, we're all on Tampa Bay. I hope they blow Dallas out.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be an interesting game.
31-10.
When Dallas wins, America wins.
31-10. That's my predicted score. Somewhere around there.
I would love that. And Monday Night Football. This is the biggest revenge game of the week. We got Russell Wilson marching back into Seattle to take on his old team in the Seahawks. And I feel like he's going to make that team his bitch.
That's one way to put it. Yes, Bronco country. He's going to demolish the Seahawks. The Seahawks are not going to even appear in this game. You're going to wonder if the Seahawks have been relegated to at this point after this game is over. It's going to be about 34-10. That's my prediction. This one.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson's going to take ownership and make them his bitch.
Yeah, he's gonna walk into Seattle. He's going to the Seattle is going to sack Geno Smith at least 6 times. Gonna throw 5 TDs on Jamal Adams. This game is going to get very ugly very fast.
So, I'm very excited about Monday Night Football because I don't have to ever listen to Buck and Aikman again because thank God for the Manning cast. And I'm going to predict that by the middle of the second quarter, the Mannings have basically stopped watching the game and are just being far more entertaining than anything going on field because it's going to be that much of a blowout.
Good call.
All right.
Good call.
So those are our predictions for the week, and that brings us to the end of the show. This one we record this one ahead of time. Next week, Mike and I will be live to bring you all the information on week 1 and a prediction for week 2. But that's going to do it for us today. PLD, thank you for joining us. Anything you want to plug before I head out?
Thank you. At Paul_DiNuzzo on Twitter. You can find me at PLD Projects also with PJ Campbell. Speaking of the PJ Campbell Network, Action Industries occasionally, as well as Movie Trivia Schmodown last show coming up soon, October 1st. Stay tuned. It's a killer show. It's a fun show. And that should do it.
All right. Mike, you're going to be back with me next week, but anything you want to plug before I head out?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can also find me on the What the Show weekly. Obviously, last night, those of you who saw, we did our fantasy football draft. So you can go ahead and watch that and make fun of all of our horrendous picks. Coming up in the next week, we will be doing a recap of season 5 of Cobra Kai. And now that it has dropped on HBO Max, there will 100% in the very near future be a watch along of Moonfall.
Oh, God. And if I'm on Twitter, Instagram, @ChanceBoys_91. Check out the other show, the PJ Campbell Network, the PJ Campbell Show, which I am on regularly. We're going to be launching our podcast, A Fistful of Movies, very soon. We're really excited about that, and as well as other things. Find me on this show. So we're going to be coming at you weekly, live every Tuesday. And yeah, find me my other show, Notorious by Chance, where podcasts are found. That's going to do it for us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.